Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast, where we ignite deep abundance and step into soul-led success without losing joy, freedom, or peace. This is for the woman who is bored, disconnected, and exhausted trying to win a game she doesn't want to play anymore. If your soul is calling for more flow, more ease, more magic, but you're not sure how to get there, get ready to become magnetic and create a life that is as juicy and abundant as you've always dreamed it could be. Hello and welcome back to the Be Magnetic podcast. Today we are talking about what no one wants to tell you about manifesting your dream life. If you have been manifesting hard but nothing seems to move and you're like, what else should I do? This episode is for you. I had some rough patches in my own manifestation journey. Some desires came very easily, almost instantaneously, and then other desires just took for ages, especially in business. For some reason, there were some lessons that I needed to learn in order to manifest my dream business. I started to ask myself, like, what is the difference? Like, why do I have to work so hard for some and then hardly anything for others? And I realized that there were some divine things that needed to happen or that I didn't do that played a role in how I've manifested things, and I've learned a ton of valuable lessons that I do want to share with you today. I'm going to share my top 5 lessons around manifestation that I have learned on this journey that have made a difference in whether things manifested easily for me or things manifested hard for me. So the first thing was to declutter before you ask for more. So a lot of times I've realized that things don't quite manifest, don't quite happen, or they just take longer because there is still so much old stuff in the way. And so you know how we need, like, if we buy something, like if we buy new clothes, for example, we need space in our closet. Otherwise, there is no space to put those new clothes. So in order to actually give them the room and the space that they deserve, we need to first declutter the closet in order to bring in those new clothes. And the same kind of happens to anything in life. If there is still like old stuff tangled up, there's like a little clutter, whether that is physical, mental, or emotional, then it can sometimes take longer for things to manifest. Or we can even like push things away. And a beautiful example of this is a friend of mine who has been noticing this pattern where she, like, every time she feels this like deep urge to change her life, to do something different, to make a difference, she moves somewhere else, or she breaks up with her boyfriend or something like that. So she like kind of does a crazy thing that makes her run away. And I've noticed this within myself as well, where in my early 20s I often felt this desire for more, this desire for something different, but instead of urging this desire and going after it, what I was doing was just running away. I would just book the next trip and I would escape instead of deal with the things at hand. And what I'm trying to get at is that oftentimes there's underlying fears or emotions or things that we need to first declutter in order to fully land, in order to fully create the reality that we are desiring. And in Brianna's book, The Pivot Year, she also writes that if one thing changes, everything will alter, right? So oftentimes we just have to change one tiny thing for our entire life to change. And the secret to manifestation that no one tells you about is that in order to, like, that thing to change isn't always like moving away or breaking up with someone or running away. It's not like a physical change. It's something that we need to release, that we need to strip ourselves off of so that we can actually make room for the new. We have to like declutter, we have to let go instead of covering ourselves in more stuff, because honestly this happens all the time, right? We feel a desire and we try to fill this void with more stuff, and we buy stuff and then we have so much stuff. But what we actually needed was just to sit for a moment, to get clear on what it is that we are trying to hide and bury underneath all that stuff, and then face it, release it, declutter it, so that we can then make room for what we actually desire in our lives, and call this in where there is space, where there is room, where there's the actual intention of, now we do this, now we buy this, now we attract this and receive this from a place of I'm ready, instead of I'm just receiving this to cover something else. The second thing no one tells you about manifestation is that it takes time just as much as it can happen in an instant. So it all depends on alignment and divine timing. Sometimes you or someone else, the world is not ready for this to manifest. Sometimes there is divine timing involved, and there's nothing we can do unless accept it, right? So sometimes, or like always, things happen in divine timing, but sometimes things take longer because the world is simply not ready for this to manifest. And you might not believe it, but anything and everything that happens, that manifests, has an impact on the greater collective, right? If you get rich, this has a massive impact on the world, and maybe the world is not ready for you to be rich yet, right? So it's just like a very like normal like example. Doesn't mean this is true, right? But there could be other reasons for this, but it could also be that the world is not ready yet, right? Or that something else needs to shift for this to happen. Like a lot of times this also shows up when we try to attract people into our lives. So maybe you are fully ready for this person to come into your life, but this person is actually not ready, and this person has to learn other things first before they can come into your life. So there is a degree of divine timing that we have to surrender to, which is why sometimes things can happen in an instant because divine timing is aligned and everything else. But sometimes it can also take longer because things have to shift and alter and rearrange themselves so this can happen. But also obviously your personal alignment is a big factor in this, so it is important to make sure that you declutter and you create room and space for this thing to come in. And that also means like rearranging your emotional and internal world so that things on the outside can rearrange themselves for this to fit into your life. Another thing that will help you to get quicker into alignment is to future pace. Visualize, imagine what it would look like having manifested this. So you future pace this and you notice what comes up, because if you future pace something, like for example, I started, like when I decided to we get our stepdaughter here to live with us, I started future pacing this. I started visualizing what it could look like, and I started paying attention to how it made me feel. And these emotions that you have give you a lot of indications in terms of what needs decluttering, what needs unraveling, what is still out of alignment. But future pacing also helps you to get back into alignment once you have fallen or feel like you have fallen out of it. So every time you feel maybe you're not fully on the frequency with this desire anymore, you can future pace it, you can visualize it, and that then puts you back into alignment, because again, you notice what still feels off and you can release that there in an instant, which makes it more likely for it to come through quicker. By the way, if you want to tap deeper into that specific topic, there's an episode number 15, when things feel out of alignment. Here's how to get back on track towards your dreams. If you want to learn more on how you can get back into alignment with your desires, you might want to listen into that episode. The third thing no one tells you about manifestation is you don't have to think positive all the time. So there's this misconception in the manifestation world and the personal development industry that we have to think positive all the time, and that we can't have a negative thought or we can't feel bad, because if we do, then things don't manifest, or we are sabotaging our progress, or things take longer. And so this creates like this fear dynamic of doing something wrong, and it also creates this belief that we have to be a certain way in order to attract our desires, and that's not true. It's not about positive or negative thinking. It is more about building the resilience to move through the negative times. So that also is a form of kind of postponing your manifestation from coming through, is when you kind of like try to push away and suppress whatever negativity comes up, because you think that you can't feel this, because if you allow yourself to feel this, it's going to harm your manifestation process. But instead, the suppressing is going to harm it, because that's going to then become your dominant frequency, and your dominant frequency is what is essentially attracting the desire into your life. So your dominant frequency has to be in alignment with your desires frequency. So instead of trying to think positive all the time and suppressing any negative and ignoring any setback or challenge or bad day, learn to build the resilience to move through this. And resilience is also not like overshadowing any negative. Resilience is allowing yourself to whatever you're feeling, allowing it to be here, to coexist with this, the faith and the hope that everything is always working out for you. And resilience is to be able to hold space for yourself, to be able to say, I have a really bad day and I don't believe it's possible right now, and I think I'm never gonna get there, and everything sucks. And allow yourself to sit in that. And then once this emotion has passed, you'd be like, let's go, girl, let's go after this, right? That is resilience. And I've got a few really powerful episodes as well to build that resilience, which I will link in the show notes for you to listen in after this. Number 4 is your frequency matters more than your actions do. So yes, action is important for manifestation. It is important to do something. We can't just sit here dreaming about it and hope it will appear magically sometime in our lives. That's not how it works. Manifestation is intention plus action. But when it comes to what will manifest things quicker, most of the time it is the frequency. Because it doesn't matter how much you do or how many actions you take. Taking action is important, and taking the right action is important, but it also matters the quality with which you take these actions, and that is the frequency, and also the source that it comes from. So you could keep yourself busy 24/7 working towards your business, creating programs and creating content and whatsoever. If you don't do the right thing with the right energy, it'll still take time. And in more masculine business words, more grounded words, this means pay attention to the needle moving tasks and do them with the right energy. So another example from a client of mine, or not just one, but so many clients, they're so obsessed with being consistent and posting all the time and showing up online. And yes, showing up online is important, but it's not the needle moving task. It's not the action that is going to make your business successful. There is way more intentional things that you can do from a strategic place, but I also bet from an intuitive place, there are way more, your intuition knows right now, and she's telling you that all the time what you should be doing. The one action that you know would make a difference immediately, but instead you're keeping yourself busy doing all the other things, and so busy so that you don't have time or energy for anything else because you're scared. And yes, I agree that if you do something with insecurity, with doubt, with fear, it's likely not going to have the same effect that if you would do it with confidence. But that's why frequency matters more. Work through the fear, work through the insecurity that's holding you back from taking the one action that would change everything, and then do that action with the right energy. And then number 5 is, you are not alone in this, so why do you act this way? Let's just exhale on this for a second. I don't know why people started telling us or the world that we have to do this alone. We are by ourselves. Manifestation in itself is a concept that states that we are not alone in this. Yet so many people are trying to manifest things by themselves. They're trying to make things happen, and that is not the energy that's gonna bring them into your life quickly. What's gonna bring them into your life quickly is collaborating with Source, because after all, this is a co-creation process. This is a contract between you and Source, who together are supposed to make this happen. or collaborating with other people, because often source works through other people to help us, support us in making something come to life. So just stop trying to do it all by yourself and trust that taking a little bit of help, taking a little bit of support can change everything for you. It cannot just make this feel easier, feel more supportive, but it can also speed things up so quickly, because you actually, there's things that you cannot do. There's things that you don't have control over. But if you surrender, if you allow the help that the universe is sending you, that's giving you, source is literally here saying, girl, let me help you. Let me give you a hand. But you're trying to do it all by yourself. So no wonder it takes forever. So yeah, you're not alone in this. Stop acting like it and allow yourself to trust and make the changes that allow you to be supported and be taken care of, and accept the help with this. You don't have to think positive all the time. You don't have to do it alone. You're not behind. The fact that you are here, that you're listening to this episode, means you're 20 steps ahead of most people in this world. So just breathe out, relax. Hopefully this cleared some things up for you. Hopefully you've got some shifts that you can make, some ideas, some solutions to however you've been feeling. If you're new here, go tune into some of the episodes I've linked below, which will help you to up your manifestation game even more. If you've been binging, if you're a long-time listener, DM me manifest for your next step. And then thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.